The original plot for Kang Dynasty has leaked, and we are here today, my friends of the multiverse, to break it all down and explore what could have been. The unfortunate rehauling of the multiversal saga has meant that some old stories and ideas need to be set aside in favor of a brand new direction filled with doom, which we are extremely excited for. But with all of that said, what was Kang Dynasty really supposed to look like? How was the multiversal saga set to begin and end? Well, thanks to a brand new leak, let's break it all down. While we're not upset that the multiversal saga has been retooled, it is sad that it needed to be reworked in the first place. One of the most prominent casualties of this brand new plan is the cancellation of Kang Dynasty and its replacement with Doomsday, which will see the introduction of Victor Von Doom as the main antagonist of the multiverse moving forward. And it's even been rumored that Robert Downey Jr. will appear as Victor in Fantastic Four. But going back, what do we know about the cancelled Kang Dynasty script? The information that we'll be diving through today comes from a collection of leaks from reputable insiders, from Daniel RPK and My Time to Shine Hello, as well as other sources to piece all the information together. We know that the main antagonist would have not just been Kang, but specifically, the leaks revealed that the Council of Kangs that we saw in the post-credit scene of Quantumania would have been the main antagonists. The Kangs are famous for infighting and conquering as many timelines as they can get their hands on, so it would have been a matter of time before the Council eventually imploded. Kang Dynasty would have likely showcased a civil war between the Council, which would have begun to eat itself and ravage the multiverse with their countless war. The post-credit scene of Quantumania was the calm before the storm. When the war breaks out though, it would fall into the shoulders of the TVA. The TVA would have been critical to Kang Dynasty, as they've been known to monitor various variants of Kang as of the ending of Loki Season 2, and they would have been preparing for the eventuality that they would have to fight the Kangs en masse. According to the leak, they attempt to assemble a team of anchor beings from various different realities in order to stop the Council and their rising power, as they believe the anchor beings are the only ones powerful enough in their realities to stand up to an entire council of conquerors. This inadvertently demonstrates just how dire the tasks actually were and the stakes, as if any anchor being were to die, this would mean the decimation of an entire reality and timeline. As explained in Deadpool and Wolverine, anchor beings directly fuel the life of a timeline, and when an anchor being dies, then the timeline begins to unravel and slowly degrade. And although this can happen over decades, and even thousands of years, the timeline will dissipate until it is no longer thick enough to sustain a functional universe, and the reality in question will die. If the TVA is willing to put so many anchor beings in harm's way, they would be showing in Dynasty that they are comfortable potentially sacrificing all of these timelines just to stop the Council. If the multiversal Avengers endure casualties, then their home universes would die as a result, and the TVA is okay with this. We know that the cast would have reunited the three Spider-Men, and they would each be revealed to be anchor beings of their own realities. What's interesting is that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield being the anchor beings of their universes does actually make sense, but it would have been revealed in Dynasty that the MCU's iteration of Spider-Man was Earth 616's anchor being, making him the star of the show. In both of the previous Spider-Man franchises, superhuman beings were exceedingly rare, and the other heroes basically did not exist. Nobody has more of an impact on these realities than Spider-Man in a superhuman manner of speaking, but Tom Holland's Spider-Man has significantly more competition. He has to stand up to the likes of Reed Richards, Steve Rogers, and even Tony Stark in order to prove that he's as important as these other figures. What this speaks to, however, is Peter Parker's future, because even though he has done his part for the superhero community, he is extremely young. A great way to illustrate this is actually through Cable, who, when he comes back from the future into the modern age of heroes, Cable talks about the reputations of each of the individuals across history. And Cable claims that Spider-Man is destined to go down in history as one of the greatest superheroes of all time, and he is only now hampered by his age and his relative inexperience. This leads us to hope that Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man can grow into an accurate representation of the hero that he will certainly be remembered as, the greatest hero of them all. And this would explain why he is the anchor being of the MCU, even if Spider-Man himself does not know it yet. But back to the plot of the Kang Dynasty. It would be revealed that a variant of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is also an anchor being, as is Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider, though we can't confirm whether or not the Wolverine variant is the same from Deadpool and Wolverine. If you'd followed some of our previous theories, you'll know that we believe the title of anchor being can be passed down from one individual to another like a lineage. This explains how a reality exists for millions of years before an anchor being is born, and how a reality can be held together when one dies. We also published a full theory on how Deadpool is the new anchor being of his timeline, and we theorized that he could have inherited the mantle from the previous version of Logan, even if this didn't happen immediately. If this is true though, then it would mean that Deadpool would also most likely be included, and we can theorize that perhaps a variant of Reed Richards from a Fox timeline, or even Ben Affleck's Daredevil could have been included. But we don't know this for certain, even though they were rumored. More importantly though, is that according to the breakdown, it seems as though several heroes from Earth 616 would have also not been included, giving more of a spotlight to the multiverse. This is a very interesting decision, and it's likely that many Earth 616 heroes would be far more important in Secret Wars than they were in Kang Dynasty. The likes of Shang-Chi, Sam Wilson, Moon Knight, Thor, and the Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as so many others, seem like they would have been left on the sidelines in favor of this new interdimensional team, which would have been an interesting decision. Without seeing the movie though, or knowing if this would have changed, we don't know if this idea would have worked, but it's certainly risky to release an Avengers film without many of the most famous Avengers. According to leaks, the Avengers would have ultimately failed to stop the Kangs from causing irreparable damage to the multiverse, and whether it's because too many incursions or outright warfare, the multiverse would have collapsed. It's our theory though that one of the Kang variants would have weaponized Alioth again, similar to how He Who Remains did at the end of the last multiversal war, and this would have been the final hurdle for the Avengers to face down in order to stop the multiverse from collapsing. The way in which the multiverse dies is not covered in any of the leaks unfortunately, but we believe that this is the likeliest solution since the entire multiversal conflict seems to be on something of a time loop, and if Doctor Doom wasn't going to be included, then the variant of He Who Remains would still fill the role as the main antagonist, and the final antagonist of Kang Dynasty who would ultimately win and move into Secret Wars. Thanks to Loki Season 2, we know that this variant is Victor Timely, and so he was likely to be groomed to take the place of He Who Remains and would have become the king of Battleworld. According to the information we have, other beings from 616 would have converged onto Battleworld and likely were saved by a life raft similar to what happened in the Secret War comic. In the comic, the Future Foundation led by Reed Richards is able to predict the destruction of the multiverse and is able to build a life vessels capable of saving at least a few key players before they land on Battleworld. From here, we don't really know how Secret Wars would have played out, as that is under lock and key because Marvel still has plans to use this as a basic timeline and an outline, as well as has key plot beats for Secret Wars, only this time adapted to fit into Doctor Doom instead of a Kang variant. Overall though, the plot synopsis seems intriguing, with a smaller focus on a few key players rather than attempting to cram as many heroes as possible into one movie. Avengers films have always thrived on the conflict and relationship between team members, and this is perfect in smaller doses. The rivalry between Tony and Cap, Tony and Strange, Thor and the Hulk, and several other small-scale conflicts all breathe life into the project, while the more poignant relationships between Natasha and Hawkeye, or Steve, help the Avengers team feel united as a family, complete with both support and infighting and rivalry alike. Introducing so many characters would dilute this key component, though we're not sure if omitting so many of Earth 616 veterans was a smart move. But again, I guess we'll never know. Instead, Avengers Doomsday will likely showcase the rise of Doctor Doom to power instead of the Kang Council, and instead we will likely see Doctor Doom inherit the power of the Beyonders besides a Beyonders version of Kang. In truth, likely not much of the story will be shifted and adapted, as a lot of Secret Wars will maintain its core structure, just, of course, with the addition of Doom. But anyway friends, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on the cancellation of Kang Dynasty? And do you think that Doomsday is going to outclass whatever Kang Dynasty could have given to us overall? Personally, I have extreme faith in the Russo brothers, as well as of course Robert Downey Jr. No one knows these characters better than the three of them, and many of their MCU projects in the past are absolute masterpieces. But now my friends, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on the leaks revolving around Kang Dynasty in its original story? And is Doom an upgrade or a downgrade? As always guys, Hulk smash that subscribe button for more Marvel lore and content, and have a great day.